back to yet another episode of the Unathletic. We are three very unfit men.
Hit me right in the field.
I feel like the intros are getting a little cleaner every time.
Every single time, Amar.
We are three very unfit men, I reiterate.
Very.
He's emphasizing.
Yeah.
Telling and analyzing what the world's most elite athletes have done in the past week or so. We are here to talk about the crazy Champions League tie, which has got me back from the dead because all through the season I had lost my love for football. But just looking at the way these games have gone, I'm like, okay, this is what the sport should be like. It was hella fun to watch. The fans were really at it, and we're going to get into what the teams have done. Before we can talk about what Arteta said being the best team in the Champions League and in Europe from the PSG bench, let's talk instead about...
Shots fired early, man.
Let's talk. That's all I have to say about that game, by the way. Let's talk about the Inter-Barça match. Personally, I think it's the best Champions League tie that I have seen, at least in recent times.
Recency bias, though. But
Yeah,
there are many examples.
You could say it's recency bias, but I feel very few come to like my memory. I think one would be the Barça Rome game, which I remember distinctly being an amazing tie.
Bayern PSG also was a banger a few years back. I can't remember the exact year, but that was also similar.
Which was the Cristiano hat-trick against Bayern. That was also semi-final.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think in 2007 there was a Champions League game that was quite crazy for United, but I mean this game had everything in it, right? It had, first of all, it had two very distinct footballing philosophies. That was Barca and Inter.
Yeah.
It had two very different sets of demographics where Barca are a team that is filled with youth and exuberance and a lot of running, and Inter are a team filled with wily old professionals who know how to get the job done. Two brilliant managers, two great stadiums backed by their fans, VAR controversies, lots of goals, great goalkeeping. This tie had everything in it.
Man, it was a pleasure to watch. I think Amar is right. When you take recency bias into account, it's probably one of the best Champions League ties we've seen for a very long time. And it's very rare that you get both legs being this, scoring, and in both legs, both teams look to be completely out of the game. And somehow they were able to claw their way back. It was just amazing.
It was epic though. It was like a mirror, no? Like the first, what happened in the first semi-final versus what happened in the second leg of the semi-final. The team scoring first, them going to a 2-0 lead in both the ties. So first it was Barca, 2-goal comeback and lots of twists and turns. And even when it went to extra time, you felt there was something more to be that had to be given.
Yeah.
So there was, you knew that this game was not done turning up twists and turns. There was still more to be put out there, and especially the talent in the show. I think we're going to get more into that. The people that, the superstars that you want to see at this stage in the Champions League that makes it the Champions League.
Yeah.
It was a damn fun watch.
Just a hot take, like upfront. I thought Barca was a much better side and deserved to qualify. Do you have a different take on that?
I don't think so.
No.
Because I'll tell you my reasoning. Even when Barca were 2 goals down in both the legs, it never really looked like they were out of it.
No,
the kind
yeah.
of football that they were playing.
Yeah, that's
And
true. That's true.
If you go back and watch the games, if you watch the highlight packages, right, or if you just watch the game in general, I think Lamine Yamal could have had a hat trick in the first 20 minutes of the first leg.
No, but
Just
on
Lamine Yamal.
but on the flip side, I mean, you're praising one guy for playing so well for Barcelona. On the flip side, you have to give equal praise to Jan Sommer for the way he
saved, yeah. And I'm going to get into that in a different section of the
He was
podcast.
incredible.
He was amazing.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, in terms of the catalogue of chances, I felt that Inter were so clinical in the way that they moved that they maximized on every opportunity that they got. But Barcelona just created chance after chance after chance, and maybe on another night, Jan Sommer wouldn't have had such a great game, or the Inter defense would have been a little less rigid, or Inter wouldn't have scored the number of goals that they scored and the way that they scored it. I mean, the first 2 goals, if you take in the first leg, where Thuram made that back heel flip, what a goal that was! And like add to that the overhead volley. I think that was Daniel Dumfries, right?
Yeah.
Who made that overhead volley.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Like those 2 goals are a freak of nature, right? You don't see that very often. So just the way that the leg is gone, I feel that Barcelona were the better team in terms of creating chances, but Inter just had something about them where they were rigid enough to stay in the game and stay in the lead for so long.
But that comes back to what your original point was, where it's a clash of two completely different styles of football. I'm not saying Inter are like park the bus kind of an Italian football side.
Of course
They're
not.
far from that. But they are built first on defensive rigidity. Defend with 5 at the back, attack with 3 at the back. So they were very structured, I feel. Barca were able to create chances, but Inter Milan were camped in the box in the right moments, and they were able to break out in the right moments as well. So I think that style of play against a team like Barcelona, who you know are going to keep more of the ball, it makes sense for them to play like that. You can't go and try to press Barcelona all the way high up the pitch. That's not going to work. You can't go there and expect that you're going to keep 55 to 60% possession against Barcelona. That's not the way the match would ever work for you. You have to play to your strengths, and I think that's what Inter Milan did. I completely 100% agree with you though that it over the course of the 2 legs, I don't know the XG stats, but it did feel like Barcelona are the ones who made the better chances. But I don't think that's like a 1:1 like equation where you can say that okay, that means that Barca deserve to go through. I think the way Inter defended, and specifically in the second leg when Barca came out in that second half, and it looked like okay that
they were good. They were tearing Inter apart.
they were destroying Inter, man, and it looked like Inter were out of the tournament. They did not have the legs, they did not have the stamina, or they didn't have anything to offer in like the first, I think 20-25 minutes.
No,
maybe even half an hour.
Even up until the end,
Until-
they were
yeah.
just not able to.
They were tired.
Yeah.
They were absolutely gone. And when the bench came in, you would always think that Barca's bench is stronger and Inter's squad is not as good. I mean, even when we broke down Inter Milan in the quarterfinal episode, we said that Inter's starting 11 is solid, but beyond that, it's not like the strongest possible thing. But to the credit to them, the subs came in and they got in that injection of little bit more effort and energy, and again, like they came back like from nowhere basically, and it was amazing. Like the ebb and flow of the game. But coming back to your original point, I could totally digress. I think Inter deserved to go through. I think we saw a high level contest where both teams played their best, and when that happens, whoever has that little bit extra deserves to go through, and I believe that was Inter.
So talking about individual performances, as Bo brought up, and we're going to touch on that now. The obvious person to come to the fore is the way Lamine Yamal has single-handedly pulled the Barcelona team back. But let's also touch on 2 people that I want to talk about before we get into this topic. That is Daniel Dumfries, who had 5 out of 7 goal contributions in the Champions League semi-finals, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And for the last game, for the last goal, for the equalizer in the second tie, he's just bullied the defender off, played the ball in, scored. And that was something that we've seen over the course of 2 legs, where Daniel Dumfries has been attacking that space over the flank time and time again, and all of Inter's goals have come from that. It was a very deliberate strategy, because the wing back on the other side, I think it's DeMarco, right? DeMarco on the other side could not push up forward because of the threat of Lamine Yamal. And that gave Daniel Dumfries the freedom to go and attack the space, and the way he did it was very smart, because Barcelona were playing a very high line and they were playing that offside trap, and the way he countered that was to just make runs as early as possible, which is something that you don't think about, right? You think that you'd be making runs as late as possible.
Yeah.
But what he was doing is, as soon as Inter got the ball, no matter where on the pitch it was, he was always running forward to give his team an option that was opening Barca wide up.
Yeah.
And most of the times he got the ball because he was into space, timing his run perfectly, and then leading to either goals or assists. And the second person that I want to talk about is Acerbi, who scored the equalizer. Now, a really, really cool stat was that he's the second highest goal scorer, second oldest goal scorer in Champions League semi-finals.
How old is he?
37.
37.
Damn, dude.
Only behind Ryan Giggs, who scored in the Champions League
Of
semi-finals.
course. If there's any record to do with oldest something, no, it'll be Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
Somewhere it'll be Ryan Giggs' name over there. Way more than that, was it him? Gareth Barry.
Oh, the most number of appearances.
Most number of appearances.
James Miller also some.
Miller, yeah. These are the usual suspects.
Yeah. But this was his first ever European goal, ever in his career.
Crazy.
And it's his first goal since April 2023 in any competition. So that this guy hasn't scored in like 2 years. And where does he end up? He ends up like near post. Number 9 rolled to like slot a ball in from their right wing back Daniel Dumfries. It's amazing how he.
Is it Daniel or Denzel?
Then
It's Denzel.
Oh, I think
It's been bothering me from the start.
I didn't want
Why
to
did you
interrupt him.
Because I didn't know if I was wrong, and then I was like, Daniel Dumfries doesn't sound right, but I just like.
Okay.
The last one was like,
guys, we're gonna cut this whole.
No, it's
No, it's not
No,
going to
it's
be
not
there.
gonna be
It's all of it is going to be there.
Yeah.
But great two individual performances I got up, but Lamine Yamal, the way he played, especially in those pockets of like the first 20 minutes of the first leg, the maybe 20-30 minutes after halftime of the second leg, amazing. What a talent.
So the thing is, I just wanted to add to this by going back to your previous point also, because like who deserved to go through. The way the teams played like has a lot into this also, because Barca, they really went full tilt into the reliance on Lamine, and Lamine stepped up on the money, on the dot. There were no mistakes, anything anybody had dreamt of, the best kind of performance that any player, regardless of it being a 17-year-old kid,
Yeah.
to come and do what he did on the Champions League
And the
semi-final
first goal that he
stage.
scored, man. The first goal in the first leg.
You're 2-0 down 20 minutes in, and to do
Madness.
that is utter madness. You're grabbing the game by its neck.
yeah.
Like there's nothing better in football to see a young kid step up like this on the grandest stage there is. But like I said, so Barca leaned heavily into that. They don't have Lewandowski, remember. So they've leaned completely into that aspect, as well as Rafinha. They're playing Ferran Torres up front, for God's sake. So
Was invisible, it must be said.
Both legs.
yeah,
But a lot of Barca players also stepped up. I thought Pedri had a great second leg. not the first.
Pedri is an underrated.
Martin had 2 assists in the second leg, and they found ways
They
to
did,
win,
but
Yamal
this was
headed
Lamine Yamal's show.
This is show.
This tie was Lamine Yamal's. Even though he ended up on the losing side, everyone's going to remember it by
As
this
the-
kid's performance.
Yeah.
breakout.
And like we talked about before also, no, Flick set up a little bit more direct, high line. He never compromised on that principle, although which I think led to Barca's
Yeah.
demise. Like you brought up Dumfries' constant adventure up front. That was only possible, and because of the high line that they played, and he could break free first time every single time because of the high line. He didn't have to wait for the ball, make second runs or late runs into the box.
Like just on that, interrupt you for a second, because like what I said earlier about both teams played their best, right?
Yep.
Both teams stuck to their principles.
Yeah.
Flick is like, my team plays best when we play this way. I don't care if Inter is in front of me. Inter were like, this is the way we play best. I don't care if Barca in front of me. And that is why you got this game.
Yep.
It was just two completely high level teams doing exactly what they needed to do. But
And
yeah,
especially these players, I got to say, because we're going to touch upon the other semi-final, and I have a few points to talk about from that game as well. But the thing is, these players, they owned the game there in that stage without any second thoughts or doubts in the mind. They knew they were up there with the quality, and they could show it there on the stage. So Lamine Yamal was spectacular on the night. There are comps going about. I don't know if you guys have seen it, like mirrored comps where instead of the right flank, he's been mirrored to the left flank, and it looks identical.
Baptism picture of Lamine Yamal and
Messi.
So now they're saying that Messi got his powers because of that picture. I love Twitter with this. But I just want to point out like a very specific incident. Let's take nothing away from Lamine Yamal over the course of 210 minutes football that's been played. He was absolutely outstanding. But there was a chance at the end of the second tie to completely kill the game and put Barca 5-3 up, where he hit the post, and that was a great chance. Inter scored 45 seconds after that ball has hit the post. Maybe a player with a little bit more of experience and guile would not.
No, I wouldn't say it, Amar,
harsh,
because to get into the opportunity to be able to take the chance, first of all, he's doing something right there.
Yeah.
As a 17-year-old, as a footballer, he's doing something right.
You know exactly
When he's
what I'm
constantly
talking about, where these players are just going to run towards that corner flag and waste as much time as possible, possibly use that skill to try and get a corner or a throw in.
I mean, maybe.
But that's not Flick's style, no? Like Akshat said, and like I've been saying, Flick and Inzaghi both set out without any changes depending on the opposition's weakness or the man that they're playing. None of that mattered at this on this stage. So they went out, whatever they've been doing throughout the season, that's the same thing that they put on show. So they were not going to compromise for the last 20 minutes or the last 10 minutes of
this
this.
was seconds.
Still.
This is mere seconds before the final whistle has been blown. But anyways, let's...
No, wait, before we get off with Lamine Yamal's
High horse.
hype train, thank you for saving that. But, bro, like, I want to like point us back to the previous episode where the two of us were also like hyping him up a lot. And we said that this kid is just not scared. It does not matter which game he's in. It does not matter who's defending him. It does not matter what the situation is. He is going to try and beat his man and create something. Whenever he touched the ball against Inter Milan, it always looked like some chance would be created.
Yeah.
And it is breathtaking to watch a player who is that good, but also is confident enough to try that every single time he gets the ball.
And who has the freedom to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I feel like, I hope this is never removed from his game. I hope he stays this free. It's very Brazilianish, like, you know, the flair which he has. The Neymar comparisons are very apt, I feel.
I hope. Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to go beyond footballing and into the personal traits as well as the physical part of the game where Neymar has suffered.
Yeah.
He's already played 100 games,
I mean, see,
senior games, at the age of 17. So.
I think, look, we have to also acknowledge that it's inevitable that he will not have the long career like Ryan Giggs has and all of this, right? Neymar was pretty much done with top tier football by the time he was 31 years old, and you can't avoid it, right? So unless you're a freak of nature like Messi, who does not take care of his body, did not do yoga, none of that stuff.
We can't say that I mean, he called us unfit multiple times at the start of the pod, so I don't think we can question Messi's athleticism.
See, if you want to stay fit like us, this is what you do, bro.
Okay, let's move ahead to another brilliant individual performance. But before I get to that, I want to talk about... I'm going to touch on two very broad general topics that relate to this game. One we've already briefly touched about, but the second one is of what goalkeepers are supposed to do. And I've always been of the mindset that a goalkeeper's first responsibility and first skill set is shot stopping rather than how good they are on the ball. And I think it came to the fore, especially in this tie.
You know that Sean Dyche meme, no? Utter woke nonsense. That's a bar now, dude. When he sees a keeper try to attempt a pass.
I don't like it at all.
I mean, that's because you've been burned. You've had bad experiences. That's why you feel that. There are exceptional goalkeepers who know how to play, not just with their hands, with their feet as well now. I'm talking about
many are there?
There are the new generation of goalkeepers that are coming up.
Where I'm coming from, okay? I'm coming from a place where being good on the ball and with your feet is given more importance than being good with your hands.
I don't think it's given more important. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying that if you're 6 on 10 in shot stopping and 9 on 10 with your feet, that player is now considered good enough.
Exactly.
Where you are saying that you have to be 8 on 10 in shot stopping no matter what. Then only
Exactly.
I get that.
So let's, like, Jan Sama had a brilliant match, right? Even though 6 goals were conceded by him, he saved 14, which is the second highest in a Champions League semi-final.
It goes to show the quality of the game that even after such a spectacular performance, he's let in 6 goals.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it again goes back to how good Lamine Yamal was, because I'm sure 7 of them were...
I didn't want to bring his name up.
One of them was right at the end where you thought Lamine Yamal has hit it wide in extra time, but it was actually like a fingertip save from
dude, what a save!
That was a
I thought that was going to be an equalizer though. Like, him getting it back. It was in.
And even in the first leg, when Lamine Yamal had 2 shots almost like back to back, one where he had to react because Lamine Yamal was pretty close to the ball, he had to bring his hand up, hit his fingers, hit the bar.
Yeah.
That save also.
There was one more where I think it was Eric Garcia who scored the first goal for Barça in the second leg. And he also had a chance maybe like 3-4 minutes immediately after that with another cross and that was an instinctive save. Like Garcia could have hit that anywhere, but it was still like take no credit away because
it was like a reaction save.
Yeah, it was right in front of the goal.
Yeah.
But it brings me back to my point, like you have to have a goalkeeper who knows how to command his box, who knows how to stop crosses, and who knows how to save shots. And I come from a fan base that has like grown up watching David Gea. Like when I was a kid, he was a kid, and literally we've grown up together, right? And I've seen the kind of things that he has done. For me, shot stopping is always going to be an incredible feat because I think it's very hard.
It definitely should be though. Like it is the main aspect a goalkeeper should be judged upon. But now you got to take it into consideration that there's no other choice. The other part of playing with your feet, that ability, that necessity that goalkeepers need now, that is also part and parcel of the game. You can't change it.
I agree that you have to have it. It's very important for you have to have it, but it should not be given importance or prioritized over your basic skill set, which is shot stopping.
Okay, like let me put this another way. I'm not disagreeing with you. I actually do agree with you. But it's not just shot stopping versus how good you are at your feet, because the modern goalkeeper has to do a lot more. And I think from the other side also, Chesney, the way he swept, man, against Inter, like with that high Barcelona line, there were so many times when it looked like Inter were through. They were behind Barca's defense, everyone was onside and everything. And from the right side of your TV screen, suddenly one guy comes running around and kicks the ball out, right? I just want to give that guy props too, because I'm not saying he made like the same number of incredible saves which someone did, but he
also had an incredible game.
He had an incredible
Actually,
pass.
all the goalkeepers in this 2 games tie were incredible.
That's true.
Both the goalkeepers walked away with man of the match awards across the legs. So that goes to show like a single man effort can change the game, especially goalkeepers also who never get
And
the
for
credit.
goalkeepers to have a good game, you need the opposition like starting to tend to have a good game to
And so, like, that's the thing, like goalkeepers, it's not like the other 10 positions in football. It's an impact position, right?
Yeah.
Because the difference between a bad goalkeeping performance and a good goalkeeping performance is so like poles apart. Versus like, let's say Garnacho is not playing well one day, you sub him off, you get Amar there, and he also has an average game. It's fine. Like it's not that detrimental to the team. But when you have, I shouldn't say Amar, maybe like Mountain, but he also scored well. He had a good game, bro. Okay.
Digress.
Yeah. But no, my point is that it's that position where concentration is the most important thing, because, like I said, a mistake as a goalkeeper counts almost 3 times and 5 times as much as a mistake which you make as a centre back or something, right? And in an already high quality game where chances are being created, you need your goalkeeper to step up and make the difference.
Yep.
And this could be a segue to what we saw with Donnarumma in the PSG Arsenal game. But he was also
incredible.
The person who's keeping PSG.
He won man of the match in both the legs.
Did he?
Yeah, both the legs.
Yeah.
Before we move on to that game, I just want to talk about my second general broad point, right? Which I thought about this when I was watching Inter Barça especially, where I said that I fell back in love with football, and was the reason for that. It is because the amount of freedom that is given to players. Now, all the 3 of us are watching the Premier League, right, in and out. Week in, week out, we're watching the Premier League. And I feel that in that league, because of what teams like City have done, teams like Arsenal have done, where it's so systematic, so possession-based football, is that you take out the personal flair element from the game, where we're not seeing it as much as we were before. Biggest point in case that I would say is Eden Hazard at Chelsea, right? Like he was a complete outlier in that team, where he was given the total freedom to do whatever he wanted, and it worked for them beautifully. Gareth Bale for Tottenham. We are not seeing these kind of players anymore coming up in the Premier League, except maybe for Nottingham Forest, but like they are.
No, but even that is.
Yeah, even you can't. It's not in the big teams with the big players. And the reason why I enjoyed watching this game so much was not because yes, there was a system in place. Inter definitely had a system, but it was not rigid. They are very structured in their positioning of where a player has to be, but which player has to be there, that doesn't matter.
They have to figure it out amongst themselves.
Yeah, anyone can end up anywhere, so it leaves a lot of scope for personal sort of style to come into the game.
Yeah.
And that's why we saw players like Mkhitaryan, Çalhanoğlu really thriving in that system, because they popped up anywhere and everywhere. Same thing with Barcelona. Over the last maybe 3 or 4 years, they were a very boring team to watch, I have to admit it. Before that, yes, they had the Messi factor, they had Luis Enrique, they had Neymar, they had those players with that X factor.
But you're saying the Xavi era of Barcelona.
Yeah. I mean, it was still very structured. They wanted to play in a certain possession-based system. It's gone, I wouldn't say completely out of the window. They still have that Barcelona ethos of keeping possession, keeping the ball. But it also adds when you have a 17-year-old ruthless winger on one end and a Brazilian on the other end. Like, that is going to happen. I just feel that personal flair has gone out of the modern game of football and came back to the fore.
I would agree to it's reduced. I wouldn't say it's gone out, but I would agree. And a lot of the younger generation who's watching football probably think that we're just old heads being nostalgic about our times and that they're equally good players and all of that. And that might be true, but you're right in that there was definitely more space for individual freedom and individual expression. I just want to, before I say something on camera, did Henry play under Pep Guardiola at Barca?
Yep.
He did, right? Okay, because I remember this interview session, okay? And
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Stick to the left. Do not move.
So basically, when Henry was at Barcelona under Pep Guardiola, and this shows how much Pep Guardiola also has changed from old school Pep to new age Pep, right? Is that in the defensive third and the midfield third, Pep Guardiola is like a mad scientist. Okay? Like he has formulas almost written down that if this player goes to this half space and that player has to come to this, he's divided the pitch into like these spaces, and he said that when the team is countering, you have to be in these particular spaces. When you are attacking, you have to be in these particular spaces. But when you're in the final third, complete freedom. Henry do whatever you want to do. Messi has to do whatever. Like whoever is there, the forwards, they have complete freedom. There are these positions which you need to occupy somewhere in the pitch, but complete freedom to express yourself and do what you
Do you think it's the same now?
No. I mean, clearly it's not. Like, I'm talking just about Pep Guardiola right now. It's not the same right now.
But
I think-
take the name, like, you see the names that you took, right?
No.
Theory on it,
I don't think it's that, because I speak about this a lot, where football is very cyclical, right? It always goes in cycles. So whatever is the style of football which is bringing results is what other teams try to copy, and then that becomes the style of football, the norm which a lot of teams are following, right? And then, so for example, I'm going back to the Premier League days where it was like the big physical 4-4-2 kind of teams, right? That was effective, and it was very difficult for teams outside of Europe and even in the Premier League to deal with that, right? But then they figured out that these guys, these big centre forwards, are not very technical, and that all of these players are not technical, not gifted to build position from the back. So what happened is that the teams who could press and who could keep possession ended up having an edge over these teams who are purely built on their physical prowess, right? So that now became the norm, where it became more systematic. It became more, okay, this is how you do when you lose the ball, this is what you do when you get the ball, this is how you keep the possession, this is how you rotate between possessions, and it became systematic. And now we are in a place where the majority of the teams are playing like this. Now what might come out of this is an era of football where, okay, these teams are very good at keeping possession, but if we stay solid and we know how to counterattack and really hurt these teams, then we are going to be more successful than them.
I wanted to add to that though, because we've spoken about this also.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to the same thing that I've been harping about for the last 5-6 episodes altogether. Pep has also come out and said this. All of the systems, every team is trying to play the same now. Every team knows each other's moves down to the T.
Yeah, most of it has come from like his school of
Yeah, so
That's the point.
now
Because
you need that
this is-
X factor. You need that person who'll, in a 1v1 situation,
Yes.
who'll ensure that the ball sticks to him, goes past the defender. What is that all of a sudden for?
Where did that come from, bro?
He said he needs one person, bro.
I'm talking about a player. But yeah, your 1v1 duels are important. You need players who can go past your opposition man now. So, like, since everything's down to a formula, everyone knows in this particular situation and game state, this is how a team's going to play.
Boring, boys. This is boring.
But also on the flip side, Amar,
Now it is.
to give you an explanation of why the game has gone in that way, is the game that we're referencing to, Inter and Barça. It was a wonderful watch, but for the managers there, it was utter chaos. For them, it was utter chaos, and for a 38 game season, if you're looking to win a title at that end of the period, you want maximum control, and chaos is the complete opposite of that.
But
How do you get complete
don't you think
control?
that
You
if-
try to engineer every single simulate every single situation that can possibly occur and have contingencies for
So,
that.
like just to back up what he's saying, right? That the whole one-on-one point. Now, because systems have evolved to a point where previously, to beat a team's defensive structure, it would be simple ideas like an overlap, right? Now it's like, oh, we need to overload this side, we need to keep passing triangles on the right side, then we need to quickly switch over to the left side, because that is how positional play has evolved, right? That we have players covering each and every single one of your players and protecting the space. How do you beat that? One man goes past that player, he's free all of a sudden. So these X Factor players are now a lot
coming
more
back.
Are coming back.
You've seen Pep ditch in his system also. He's ditched the Grealish and Mahrez mold of wingers that he needed and Bernardo mold of wingers to maintain complete control. He has Savinho, he has
Doku.
Yeah, so he's going for these kind of flair players again now. I'm thinking it's going to change again.
And
similarly.
Back in the day, in the physical era of the Premier League, like if Yamal, I'm not saying if Yamal plays in the Premier League, he'll beat off the ball. I'm not saying that, but that mold of player would just get literally bullied off the ball with someone who's much more stronger and physically built than that guy, right? But now the defenders have to be good on the ball. They have to have position awareness. They should be technical players. You're not getting that built guy who's there anymore.
Also, that's why now they're adding defenders as instead of your wingers, no? Like pure and out pure defenders across the entirety of your back line. That's why managers are going for that also now.
So football will keep evolving like this too. And Lamine Yamal is the unicorn who is going to bring out the new age in football. Yeah. Because kids are going to start looking at that and start playing like that also.
But on the flip side, it's not only Lamine Yamal. I think PSG also have a lot of technically gifted players. Kvaratskhelia being the most prime example. What a brilliant team. Sorry, Paul, your side was the best in the Champions League.
I think we should give the first word over here.
Yeah.
I
just want to say PSG bench said that they were the better team.
So that's the only takeaway that you have from the game.
Absolutely, yes.
Wait.
This is the most important thing.
So there's
more context before we give too many inside jokes also. Arteta after the game came in the post-match interview saying that we were the better team. The PSG bench also came and said so, okay. And then one reporter went to the press conference of PSG and asked their manager the exact same thing, and he said no one ever said this.
Tilted.
So the thing is, that's your only takeaway from the game instead of actually talking about the game which we're here for. Because you mentioned 4 or 5 times the same particular thing.
How did you like the atmosphere at the Emirates in the first leg?
It was a good turnaround. You're talking about the banner that you're talking about. I know we're not there in that particular occasion year on year to have that particular experience of putting T4s across ends of the stands. But
I was not even talking about.
But the atmosphere in general was a decent place. No, I wouldn't say so. It was decent. And the problem was the way PSG. I want to talk about how PSG played. The way PSG started in the first leg of the semi-finals, they've been doing it throughout the season. They've been completely boulderizing. I don't know how to say it. Bulldozing teams. The first 20-30 minutes, it's complete chaos. They're in your face. They have a high line. All of their players are in your half. They suffocate you. This completely took the wind out of us. We did not expect PSG to come flying out of the gates as well. And we conceded early also.
Also, in the WhatsApp group, I don't know who it was from PSG said that we're going to press Arsenal, we're not going to play on the back, okay? And Bo replied on that message. He only put that tweet. And he was like, yeah, come, let's see, dude, or something like that. Like, oh, this is perfect for us and all of that.
Yeah, but we did adjust to the game. We did adjust to the way they play. We came up.
In both legs, Arsenal were decent after a point.
We did have our chances.
Yeah.
And
in the second leg,
it was a game of margins. PSG were the better side. They went through. They have these superstars who deserve to play in the final. They played much better than us in terms of actually pushing it across the line. We had our chances in the second leg of the game as well. Not just the Saka chance, but in the first 20 minutes, we did exactly what PSG came to us and did at the Emirates. But for them, the margins were in their favour. For us, that Odegaard chance, that was an incredible save from Donnarumma. And Martinelli also had a crazy shot. That was also an incredible save by Donnarumma. Rice puts his header wide. This was all in the first 15 minutes of the game where we've come blitz through. And I know what you're going to talk about next. We have used every single opportunity that we have in the Arsenal there. Like, including using Thomas Partey's long throw-ins, man. for one thing, I can say that I can not question is the team's ability to actually give it a shot because they put it all out there on the field this game.
So do you want to make Poe cry?
No, it's not about that though.
How can you talk about throw-ins and set pieces?
No, because every single thing. Those are the throw-ins led to two of those chances I'm talking about.
Like
the incredible saves that Donnarumma had to make that came out of those situations.
But okay,
and it's not like it's going to be worth half a goal or quarter of a goal. It is a goal.
It's not about
your
that.
team has come into the Champions League semi-finals.
Yeah.
You're playing PSG. You desperately need goals, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me that you resort to throw-ins and set pieces.
That is because every single opportunity that comes out, whenever they're putting the ball out of the play, out of the field, that is also happening because we are in their face pressing them constantly.
You've been playing a certain style of football.
We are not changing it. We're not changing it.
But
We're just adding another element to it.
No.
It's an addition of an element.
But Poe, okay.
We are maximizing each and every opportunity that comes to us in the game.
Like what you're saying is right. I'm not denying what you're saying. That if you can create chances of throw-ins and corners,
Might as well.
Why not? Why not? Right. But the point is that the teams which go on and win Champions League and the teams which reach the later stages of the Champions League time after time again don't need this, bro.
It's not about necessity. We are down and out. 1-0 down to PSG.
It's not down
Correct.
at all.
Correct.
Bro.
We wanted to change that in the first 20 minutes immediately. And
What about the entire
those
first leg?
margins, first game, after PSG's 20-30 minutes of initial onslaught, Arsenal had a decent
I don't
game.
think
We
anything
did have our
happened in that
chances.
game after the first match.
Donnarumma was incredible in that game as well.
But it was not like Jan Sommer kind of.
Trossard had an
Let me
incredible
just
chance in the
let
second
me
half of
just
the
take
first
team
leg.
that beat you, right? PSG have found so many different ways to score across the Champions League and across
No,
the
I'm
League One.
I'm
That's
not
why-
saying
No, hear me
that
out,
this
hear me
is
out.
the only way to play and this is the complete absolute
No, they've
right
been
way to play.
They've been tweaking their game in a way where they're finding chances and finding ways to score. If plan A doesn't work, there's plan B. But if Arsenal's plan A doesn't work, you tend to resort to set pieces and throw-ins, and that is your plan B, which I don't think
It's
a
not.
top team in the Premier League or Champions League should
Listen,
have.
I'm not saying that we are up to the mark technically where we should be. Arsenal are lacking in that front. We do not have a clear goal scoring threat up front. Our best playmaker is not playmaking to the best of his abilities for a good 7-8 months now.
It's been a bad season. for
It's
him.
been a bad season where most of our players who need to show up, who have showed up for us in the past 2 seasons, have either ended up injured or have come back after a long injury, and they're facing a sort of a bad spell in terms of their ability to, play up to the same level and the mark that they were known for.
Look, I don't want to
Odegaard?
parrot Arteta here. I just want to
I'm not
ask
saying.
you.
Come on, man. Every
As an
single
Arsenal
time you're
fan-
trying. Okay.
As an Arsenal fan, are you proud of how?
Over this glass on you, Damar.
Are you proud
You're trying
of
to
how,
dismiss every single thing I'm trying to say without just trying to joke it out and then trying to dismiss it.
We've heard
That
of-
is not the. You make a constructive argument, I'll speak for it.
I
But
just wanna
then
ask
you're just
you
trying
a
to
question.
sidewind the thing by saying you're going to try to parrot Arteta.
But that's exactly the things that he said too. I just want to ask
No,
you
but
as an
it's
Arsenal
not,
No,
it's
fan.
not like what
I
Arteta
complete-
says. Okay, wait one second. It's not like what Arteta says is 100% wrong also. He's also looking at the team and saying all these things.
Listen, the things that he comes out and says in the media are not 100% focused at you or me. It's focused at the players also. He can't come out in the press conference and tell everyone, the entire world, that no, we're not good, our players are not good enough, we need additional investment. He said that enough. In the transfer window, in the January transfer window, when it was the right time to say those things, he said it. But now, after a good run in the Champions League, it's a devastating loss where the players have given it their all. You can't take that away from
In
the
the
players.
first leg?
In the first leg and the second leg, I'd say. They've
I
given
would
it
say
their
first
all.
leg- No, second leg.
I was
agree.
coming to a question which you didn't let me finish. Just as an Arsenal fan, okay, leave everything out of it. Are you proud of what your team has done in the Champions League?
Definitely.
And over these
Definitely.
years? And do you feel that they could have given something more?
No, I think we are at a point where we've reached our saturation point. We don't have our best players. Last season, we went out to Bayern Munich where we lacked the finer margins in terms of the attacking threat. This year, arguably, we're worse off. We had at least Gabriel Jesus fit then. Kai Havertz was injured back then as well, but at least Jesus was there. Now we're playing Mikel Merino, who's a journeyman midfielder. We're playing him as a number 9 and playing him as a starter in the Champions League semi-final. Put that into context. That is what I'm saying, that this year we are worse off than what we were even compared to last season, in arguably. So taking all of those things into considerations and the way they performed in the second leg. First leg, there are you point out doubts.
But let me give my neutral perspective.
But like before you do that, I'll finish by saying that second leg they've given it their complete best. They're completely drained and exhausted by the time you see them, and all of them have collapsed on the floor. At that moment of time, it's not right for Arteta to come out and criticize the players. And I think he's done the right thing by making a mockery of himself, if you would like to call it.
He tried to do that.
I think he already did that with that bulb.
Whatever it is, whatever it is, as long as he's taking the attention away from the players and focusing it on him, he's doing the right job. And as long as people like you are talking about Arteta instead of the players and the way we played, I think it's the right way to move.
See, getting to my kind of neutral analysis of how Arsenal, and I don't want to focus on Arsenal because PSG is a team who have gone.
Yeah, exactly.
We should talk about that as well, right? But very quickly on Arsenal, I feel like in the first leg, I genuinely feel like the occasion was too big for them. I don't think they played with the amount of freedom, and they didn't show the best version of themselves on the pitch. Where we speak about Lamine Yamal, we speak every single player from Inter and Barça. I don't want to pick people out, right? They did not show the best version of themselves. And I think that had a lot to do with not being prepared mentally. And when you came to the second leg, I felt like there was almost a little bit of pressure which was released. Because at home, first leg of the semi-final, you're expected to be the team which builds a 2-0 advantage or a 3-0 advantage or something like that. When you're 1-0 down, going away, there's only one way which you can play. And I felt like that freed up Arsenal, the way they had to play. And you saw the direct consequence of that in the first 20-25 minutes, right? The way Arsenal played. Then PSG found their footing, and I feel like Arsenal also ran out of ideas in forcing the issue.
It sort of felt like the players are just looking down at themselves, at their boats, and thinking maybe tonight was not the night.
Exactly.
I think that conclusion came into the players' heads a little too early. And this especially happened also, you can contribute this to those incredible saves that Donnarumma made that completely took their belief out of their system.
And you're 100% right. I was actually just going to say that Arsenal, the way they started that match, they couldn't continue it. And it was not because they looked tired. They just started to lack belief in what they were doing. And for me, this is where I disagree with you, and this is where I think the problem does lie with the manager on this particular point. Is that you need to equip your team with not just belief but also the tactical knowledge and plan A, plan B, plan C to keep going attack after attack after attack after attack for PSG, right?
Correct.
When PSG they became comfortable knowing that beyond a point of time, Arsenal's big chances are either coming when we have a positional mistake, and most of the time when there's a positional mistake, Declan Rice drives the ball through the midfield, finding the position where PSG midfielders out of position, and then he lays it off like Trossard chance, for example, right? That's what it was. But for me, looking as a neutral, that came from a PSG mistake. That didn't come from something which Arsenal forced out of PSG.
I mean,
right?
Looking the goals that PSG scored in the second leg, that was also, those two goals were also leading because of the mistakes that were made by Arsenal.
But the situation posed that you are chasing the game.
No, I'm not completely denying what you're saying.
Yeah,
but also, for the last 3 seasons, this is the same team who always managed to come up short when it mattered the most.
And this is my point.
3 years in a row.
This is my point.
So, what I believe, it's not just on the manager. Manager is also culpable. But it's not just on that. I believe that to play for his tactical ideology or what he wants to do and turn that nearlies into for sure wins, we are lacking players of some caliber. That one step, that minor step to take it up to that level. And also, this season we got to take it with a caveat because of all the injuries. So, I think so, because
I have to say that the first leg,
you're playing again. We're coming up to a front three of Saka. Okay, he's incredible.
Saka,
Merino and Martinelli. Martinelli has been good.
Injured. Only your striker position.
Completely gone. No, there's nobody else
but
there.
That's it, bro.
I'm talking.
You've been ravaged by injuries.
We were at different points of the season. We have been ravaged with the injuries at different places.
We're doing a semi-final break.
I'm talking about the whole season also. The context of
this thing can digress, but I just want to address one point.
Let's talk about PSG also, because.
I think they're going to go and win the finals.
Wow!
They're a very, very, very good
interesting.
I think okay. We'll get to that at the end of the episode.
I just love how PSG have moved away from the whole superstar kind of philosophy that we're going to sign the best players no matter how much money it costs.
That has been incredible. But sorry to cut you off, Amaru. If you look at PSG, the first half of the season, how they were playing, and the second half of the season, that tells you the whole story because they found out what they were lacking in the first half of the season. They went out in the January transfer window and they bought Kvaratskhelia. Arsenal had the same opportunity to do it. They didn't do it. They ended up on the losing side. That is also another narrative that you can run by.
But Luis Enrique, we know, is a brilliant manager.
He's an incredible tactician.
To win for all the things that he's gone through in life, and it would be such a beautiful story for him to win it with PSG.
I mean, but
PSG ain't no saint of a club, Amar. I mean, I'm loving this whitewashing that's happening this year, especially with the whole talk of PSG have moved on from the superstars era, and now they're focusing on a team game, and let's try to give it to them on merit. None of that is on merit, by the way. All of that is being funded by a freaking state.
It doesn't matter. I'm just talking about that one individual who, like, his episodes are public, right? Like the things that he has gone through, and he said it out in press conferences as well. For listeners who don't know, he basically lost his daughter to a very rare disease, and she was maybe 7-8 years old at that time.
Leukemia, I think.
Was it leukemia?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, basically incurable disease, and obviously he's gone through a lot since then, and he's taken it in his stride, and he said that she's always with me spiritually, and she'll be partying with PSG players once they win the finals.
So, that's damn sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. He's a great manager. I want them to win it for him. But there's also a set of very technically gifted players in there. For me, Donnarumma is the biggest one. He's a great fucking goalkeeper. But who's their right winger?
Nuno Mendes.
Sorry,
Nuno Mendes, the left back.
The left back.
Hakimi.
No, right winger. I'm saying.
Desiree
Doué, yeah. That guy just takes the players off.
He's also a 17-year-old kid, by the way, and he's been incredible.
He's a little bit older.
I think he just turned 18, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, at the start of the season, I think he was 17. But he has been incredible. He's also somebody who reminds you of Neymar when you watch him play.
Yeah.
The skills on display.
I'm telling you guys, dude, it's the cycles of football.
It's coming back again.
It's coming back. Pure ballers are coming back. But like,
it's not like the pure ballers of the yesteryears though. Like, because these sons of the people, they I don't know if they have a stamina clock or not. Because Kvaratskhelia in that semi-final, like he was incredible, not just on the ball but off the ball.
Absolutely,
he was incredible. And so these new gen ballers are coming up. They've gotten the defensive line also on the ball.
Dream, bro.
I swear. No, but Mourinho wants a bit more built people, but yeah, kind of.
So the reason why, and we'll come to the prediction now, why I think PSG are going to win the finals, because as I said before, they find ways to win. If they have to overload one side, they'll do that. If they have to play on the counter, they'll do that. If they have to use their pace, they'll do that. If they have to cross the ball in the box and use Marquinhos' header, they'll do that. They just find a way to score a goal. And I feel that for Inter, it's a team that just flares out. They give so much in their first 60 to 65 minutes that they have nothing left in the tank at the end, which is where I think PSG will find a way to capitalize on that and maybe get the winning goal or get an important goal in the time.
Yeah, PSG do have a lot of runners who are very direct, and like they all have that incredible pace coupled with their age factor also. All of them are fairly young, so they can keep going, like you said, for 90 minutes straight. And Inter, all of them, like most of the team squad is like, I think their average score is 32, 31. But credit to, I still can't get over the tactical influence that Inzaghi has in their team and how they've been playing. Inter, it's mind blowing, and the way they've actually realized whatever ideology that he's had on the field to such a perfection. It's incredible to watch, because the way every single time, like Dumfries was managing to go through, and Acerbi being the out and out number and more than Thuram up there for the last 20-30 minutes of the game, you could see him constantly popping up. That the way the centre backs always do that, it's incredible.
I just opened my phone to check the status of Dembele's injury, and it looks like Dembele will be fully fit for the finals. So that is a big.
I mean, we didn't even talk about him, but he's having a Ballon d'Or winning season, right?
Yeah, and if PSG win the Champions League, he's winning back.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is, I mean, what a redemption story. Like I said, I live for this kind of stuff in sports. For me, I am still siding with it. It's really tough, but I will actually side with Inter on this purely because I think that I feel like they can absorb what PSG have to offer on offense. That's what I feel with Inter. And with PSG, since we didn't speak much about this during the whole Arsenal conversation, their midfield engine is what enables them to be the team which they are, right? And that midfield engine versus a slightly aged Inter engine in midfield could make the difference. That is, I think, more than Dembele, Doué, and all of these people. But I feel like that could be the differentiator.
I just want them.
It's not a straight midfield versus midfield fight, because midfield goes into centre back.
But I feel like, if PSG, their route to victory is not Dembele doing something amazing. Their route to victory is their midfield controlling the ball and being able to block out whatever Inter are trying to do in the build-up. I think if PSG are able to completely nullify that, and Inter are now depending on the counter-attacks which they had to do against Barcelona. PSG do play a high line, but they don't play as high a line as Barcelona. So Inter is not going to have the same amount of space to exploit, and that could lead to trouble because then it'll be difficult for them to get out.
And let's also consider that PSG play with like traditional wing backs, right? Compared to Barcelona, who play like Araujo and I think
Keita
Balde.
Yeah, they
play Abude and this guy.
They originally started. Martin, I think, played left back in one of the games, but what I'm saying is they're not traditional wing backs as compared to what Mendes and Hakimi are. Definitely don't have the pace as what these two have. So it's not going to be the same game for sure. And I also feel that in Champions League finals, after a point, I think tactics goes out the window. It's just the way the first 10-15 minutes starts. But when you're playing a big final, it's more of your
2 steps up.
Yeah, exactly.
And the teams have to be mentally strong.
Exactly.
But one thing I do have to point out is that Vitinha had a horrible second leg.
That penalty.
And
That was a bad penalty.
Arsenal are bullying him. Arsenal are absolutely bullying. But that's my point, that I don't think Inter have the person who can bully the PSG midfield to a point where they are always like Mkhitaryan and
they won't go straight for a midfield to midfield duel.
That's the point.
The tactics are so different that Mkhitaryan and Çalhanoğlu will be in defense, and the Inter's actually DeMarco and Dumfries and their centre backs will pop into the midfield region. So it depends on.
Quick times and predictions, guys.
I spoke a lot about PSG, how they can counter Inter, but I still think Inter is the more settled squad, and I think that in Champions League finals you want the more defensively solid team. I would always back the more defensively solid team, and I think that's Inter. So Inter for me.
What about you?
They've been here 2 out of 3 finals.
That's also true, bro. They recently lost.
Yeah, so
that's gonna be.
I think this year they will. Yeah, they'll manage it. This is the first time Inter and PSG have apparently faced off in any capacity in the Champions League.
Crazy.
And to have that as a final.
I think it's going to be PSG just because of like the youth and exuberance versus a wily old Inter who are going to tire out at the end.
Yeah. Also, I think it's high time that PSG did finally.
Yeah.
But
there is one more final coming up. We've said it all. We've won the lot. We're Man United.
You guys practice. Congratulations.
So, how does it feel that your team has reached the European final?
What?
Oh, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd rather be in my position than you guys.
You want to host this last 3-4 minute segment because I'm going to be a fanboy. So.
Okay, so just to bring it into thoughts, the Atletico Bilbao, you're playing the finals there only. So to have a rehearsal of the semi-final, to play against the home team and not succumb to the nerves, actually getting a player sent off in the 20th or 30th minute of the first leg.
Or they're sent off, it seems.
It was a good game though. Like I think. It was done and dusted after that red card. After the red card. So, any thoughts apart from how your team showed up actually and managed to turn the opposition?
In the first 20 minutes before the red card, it was obviously very nervy and the Bilbao fans were at it. and the players were at it. They were creating a lot of chances, but we scored that first goal, which is very important. The red card came after the first goal.
Correct.
And I think that just killed the entire vibe of the stadium, which really helped us a lot. Even if it is against 10 men, when you're those 30, 40, 50,000, how many of the capacities are winning that team on, and that goes, I think the tie is done. Then it becomes a lot easier for you. That whole home advantage is taken out of the
There are some teams who win 10 men against in important matches. They just shut up shop.
Yeah. But it's exciting. We're playing against your bitter rivals. I am very, very scared. Akshat is very, very confident.
How? Look at their history.
They've beaten us.
Come here, man.
They've beaten us thrice this season.
Look at their history. If you can bottle what Tottenham have and sell it, you would be a freaking millionaire. Because you try to sabotage anybody and everybody with that, whatever you've captured in that bottle. Tottenham have a sick gene in them that does not let them win.
Bro, this is why I wanted him to host.
No. But see, here's the thing, Amar. Let me be a little bit more logical, but fuck off, I want to be logical. Bro, let's take
Akshat, this is going to stay forever on record, okay?
Yeah, see, again,
You want to jinx it, it's on
I'm
you.
not jinxing. I'm not jinxing. Like, touch wood, everything I'm doing, I'm not jinxing it, okay? I'm just speaking. Last year's FA Cup, okay? We faced Liverpool in the quarterfinal. Liverpool were by far the better team, and they had destroyed us in the. We did draw against them in the Premier League, but they destroyed us in
That
the
was after.
That
was
after.
after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was after.
That was after.
But see, the point is that they were better than us, we beat them, right? You go to City in a neutral ground in the FA Cup finals, right? They are much better team than us. They had beaten us that season quite comfortably.
Bro, how did you miss the Coventry City game, like where they were
but-
offside by like a toe?
Because we're not playing, I'm saying that when we face the big six
Okay.
teams, right, in these pressure situations, it doesn't matter if those teams are better than us or if they've beaten us. We have found a way to beat them in knockout cup
But
competitions.
Akshat, we lost Tottenham twice this season.
Who cares?
One of them in a knockout cup competition.
You're telling me League Cup counts, sir?
Yeah, it does.
No, it does not. See, my
He
point.
will count it as a trophy.
He would. But my point is this.
It is a trophy.
It is. My point
What is this new whole shit concept about dismissing trophies is not trophies,
Bro,
man?
the
Where are you guys coming up? What high horses are you guys on?
It is when you can make fun of someone, it is not a trophy. When we win it, it is a trophy. That's the
I
way it
mean,
works.
League
We
Cup.
just
I have
saying on the flip side.
I know. I have no love for the League Cup.
But we were saying what you were saying, and you are saying what we are saying.
No, I would not have discounted any cup for that matter.
Let's not go there.
Because you didn't win one.
No, okay, but my point is this. The season has been horrible, okay? But if you look at just the Europa League, right? Under Amorim, we have played 11 games in the Europa League. We have won 9, drawn 2, goal difference of plus 15. We have somehow, and this does not make any sense, but we have somehow been very good in the Europa League. We just have, and this is factual. Okay, I know the first 20 minutes against Bilbao and the first half with Bilbao in the second leg was rough, but somehow we are able to overcome these situations. Okay, we're a good cup side. Over the last 3 years, we are shit in the league, but we are a good cup side. I have a feeling. No, this is Manchester United. To that, you add Spurs. Okay,
Just don't talk about United.
No.
Talk about Spurs as much
Okay.
as you want.
I have to talk about United. How horrible has this season been? Honestly, you have stopped watching Premier League. There's a Premier League match going on right now, Manchester United versus West Ham, as we're recording.
I didn't even know.
We don't even care because the
Dude.
team has been so bad.
Do not say that on the air.
No, it is. Bro, this is how bad the season's been. My point is, Spurs are behind us on the table, bro.
It's 15. It's a tie between 15th and 16th,
It
man. And
is.
Spurs are the worst off.
They're worse than us, Amar. That is my
Although-
I know we are bad.
Don't you
They are
feel-
worse. Don't worry, bro. They are worse.
I'm
Plus,
not saying anything.
no, okay. So
Akshat.
yeah, I'm breaking
Doesn't
this
it
down.
feel ominous though? Because Giovanni at the mid of last season,
Bro.
I usually win things in my
Here
second
is getting
season,
reckless, okay?
and
Yeah,
he's
I'm
come to
sorry.
the final.
Bro, shut up.
I'm getting
Thank
reckless
you guys
over
for
here.
listening to this episode.
Bro, Ange is a fraud of a manager, bro.
Let's go.
He is an absolute fraud of a man. I'm talking about this, by the way, as a Manchester United fan, not as an analyst. So don't start saying blah blah blah. But he's a fraud of a manager. He knows how only one way to play football. Okay, let me break it down. United are good in cup competitions. United are shit, but Spurs are good shit.
I thought people were praising Ange for playing like that even when they fell 10 man.
Who?
Oh, Spurs played so brave.
Who?
Everyone did.
They're mad.
You took a dig at Arsenal just now, 5 minutes ago, because they defended with 10 men, but everyone was in praise for Spurs at that time because that game against Chelsea, if you remember, that they got demolished that game.
Yeah, they did.
And
But
yet
is that the same
the
thing?
praise that everyone showered on Ange caused to
Nobody, I did not. I
Wait.
did
needs
not.
to know this,
Yeah.
and our listeners need to know some context. Okay, Akshat has so much hate for this manager because he was his direct rival in an FM sale, where Akshat has played with Rangers or Celtic. Which one was it?
Rangers.
Rangers and Ange was.
No, I was playing Aberdeen, bro.
Oh, he was saying Aberdeen, and Ange was the manager at Celtic.
What a
So,
context.
He beat
Yeah,
me
this is
for
important.
He beat me for 3 years.
Like Akshat has a wave in front of him. No matter how good the manager is, if it's Ange, he's going to hate you.
Bro,
I mean-
he beat me 3 seasons, and then I beat him 3 seasons, and then the final season I beat him in the Champions League, and I was going to beat him in the Premier League. Rather than staying and taking his punishment, he fucked off to the Premier League and took a Premier League job before I won the league. I followed him to the Premier League. He was West Ham, I was Aston Villa, and I destroyed him just to take revenge before I quit my save.
I told you guys, like, you need context.
No, no, but okay. What I feel is that United are good in cup competitions. Spurs are equally as bad as United, and also the fact that United have lost Europa League final recently, the fact that United have more experienced players in these high pressure situations in finals, and Spurs have not done that recently. That counts for a lot. And also, I think that Amorim tactically is a better manager than Ange Postecoglou. This is why I think United is going to win. Also, on the flip side, if I'm analyzing how Spurs are, they are a nightmare matchup for Manchester United. Because Spurs have the one thing which Manchester United severely lack, that is physicality. They have players who are faster than us, they have players who are stronger than us, they have players who can actually press up the pitch, and our players get scared when they play against teams like that, which is why we've lost against them thrice this season. So that is the argument for why Spurs are going to win. But comparing the two of them, I still think United are going to come on top. That is my balanced neutral take. My Manchester United fan take is, there's no way we're losing this, boys. We're winning this.
I'm closing this episode right here. Thank you guys for listening. Do keep in touch. Like, share, subscribe, and let us know your feedback. We'll catch you again next week. Bye.